and good morning. I'm here this morning with Scott Joy, and I think you're going to find this broadcast very interesting, but also very on time. The topic today is the wealth transfer question mark. Now let's bring on Mr. Scott Joy. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning.
Good morning, and let me ask you before we get into the conversation. Hey, Scott, could you open up with prayer for us? Just a simple prayer.
Sure. Lord, we just thank you for this network and this opportunity to talk about a timely subject and ask that your presence be here.
Amen. We thank you, Scott. Scott, once again, the topic, the wealth transfer. What comes to your mind? I have different thoughts about it, but what comes to your mind and heart?
First of all, hello, Grace. She's always the first one in with a little hello, so thank you. What comes to mind is about wealth, did you say, Greg?
Yes, about the wealth transfer.
Wealth transfer. This subject came up because it's something I've been following for a couple of years. As a hobby, I monitor the financial markets. I dabbled in it in a career for a brief time, but I watch what's going on. So the wealth transfer, well, wealth is, let me read you this. I actually printed this out. The
Please.
Definition of wealth. What is wealth? Well, we all know it's money, right? Well, it is. It's an abundance of a valuable possession or money. Think about that, a valuable possession or possessions. That could be a whole topic right there. Number two definition is a plentiful supply of a particular desirable thing. A plentiful supply of a particular desirable thing. And number third definition, what is wealth? Well-being. So when you say someone's wealthy, you don't need to see their bank account necessarily. They could just have general good well-being. They could just be well. A plentiful supply of a desirable thing. Greg, when I was out in the woods this morning, I realized that I'm currently blessed with that, and I don't take it for granted, and I'm grateful. And one of that desirable thing is having time, Greg. Right? You can be wealthy if you just have time and you have peace. That's a desirable thing. Also, money. Money's a desirable thing, and it can be used. So what's the transfer of wealth? Well, the transfer means to move from one place to another, right? So the transfer of wealth that I first noticed started happening, I don't know exactly when, but in recent times, okay? The baby boomer generation, that's the people that were born from before 1965. So from whenever, the 20s through the 60s, okay? They're the one generation that did well in saving money and got through it all, and in the stock market did them well. A lot of them did very well. I also believe it's the last generation that's ever going to happen with in using that as a system. So there's this large amount of wealth, and then the people pass away, and they leave it to the millennials, which is the people born from 81 to 94, or Gen Z. But aside from all the labels, they leave it to their kids or younger people, okay? They transfer their wealth in the form of money to the kids. That's a big wealth transfer that's going on. That's the first one I wanted to talk about. And there's a lot of talk in the financial world. When I say the financial world, I mean, you can go to Yahoo Finance or any of these sites that talk about the market and all the business things, investing and all that. But there's a big transfer of wealth. So picture this, the wealth's coming from your dad, who may not know what he was doing, but he just kept saving and saving and saving and saving. And then it was in the stock market. He built this large amount of wealth, which includes a house that they were able to buy at a different time when you could actually pay it off before you died, right? So they own some assets and have some stuff. They pass away. Where does it go? Well, if they have a will, it goes to transfers to the next generation. And here's something I want to say on that. I did a little bit of research. Listen to this. The generation that this wealth is transferring to, 72% of them, 3/4 of the people that are receiving it say this: it's no longer possible to achieve above average returns with traditional stocks, bonds, and banks. They're done. They're done. What are they doing with it? What are they doing? They're investing in crypto, gold, silver, real estate when it's bright, and not a lot of it's right. But the big one is they're taking this wealth and they're having experiences. They're going for cruises. They're renting places, so they have spending money. They're buying nice cars, but a lot of them aren't buying cars. They're going out to dinner more. They're living. Then someday is now for them. They're living present. It's a very different generation. So the wealth transfer is about that. The wealth transfer also came up in a conversation with Greg and I last week, where I'm starting to see in my business, I'm having people transfer from companies, like the products I sell, from companies that have lied to them, that are crap products, low end, they've been ripped off, a little bit manipulated, and bad service. They're finding their way, Greg. It's like water. Water goes down low, but it finds its way to the next place. And if it doesn't, it cuts a chasm. The transfer is coming from, I'll call it the wicked, I'm using that term lightly, from the less than honest to the righteous. I'm seeing this in business. I've seen this with rental situations when we were renting, that the landlord was wicked, and the tenants just leave early, and he's left with a mess, and they're finding places where they're treated properly, and then they stay and flourish, coming for the transferring their wealth, their income, their money. They're not paying for this to be treated poorly. This is what I'm talking about of a wealth transfer, and it's becoming rampant. In addition, when you take money away from something, it's like taking food away from something. So if any of us watching, there is AI, but I think we're all human. You take away our food and water long enough, what happens to us? It's not good. What happens when you take money away from businesses that are treating people like wickedly? They dry up. They can borrow all they want, but then the things come calling, and that's happening now. That's what I'm talking about, Greg.
You know what's interesting, and you bring up some valuable points, Scott. When I think of the wealth transfer now, I know there's people out there who are Christians, and they're waiting for this day where they'll be able to take, for example, a currency and to exchange it for a higher value. So they're waiting for that day. But in the meantime, wealth can be like this moment, Scott. You and I are having a conversation. We're transferring words in our hearts, which creates value. So I'm just saying, I believe there's a potential wealth transfer, but I also believe we can't really focus and waste the moments waiting for something that could happen years from now. What's your thought, Scott? But you're right, it's happening now. But like I wanted to address, there's certain people waiting for this big day to exchange something that might happen years away.
How long can we talk? You just nailed it. I could talk all day about this. So, but there is timers to keep it concise. That's a big thing for, that platform, as you see on my name, newyou.live, creating the new you, right? Jesus talked about, let the dead bury the dead. I'm learning that he was referring to your old self. Don't worry about that. What do you got now? Right? Now, present. The past can't be adjusted, and the future isn't here yet. We have now. So the third definition of wealth is well-being. Be well. So there are a lot of, it's not just Christians. It's any religion or it's any belief that says you're going to suffer now, but you'll get it later. There's a lot of that programming that goes on. It's in the workforce, just suffer through to your 65, and then maybe there'll be some Social Security, or the market will still be here. Suffer now, give it all up. Give it up for me, your company, whatever it is. Don't worry about now, and later you'll get a reward. In religion, it's suffer now, or suffer for me, or whatever it is, and later heaven will come. But what if this is heaven? What if we can live here too and be well? And I'm finding it is. I'm enjoying my life more than ever. I attend church less than ever. Maybe those two are disconnected, but it doesn't change who God is or who I know He is. And so the transfer also can happen within yourself. Is you can just transfer from God His knowledge and power and words and guidance and let it guide you. It's available for us now. You don't have to wait. We could. One of the best ways to build wealth, they say in the world, is spend less than you make and do that for a long time. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. And then the parable of the talents. Who was God, Jesus, most upset with? I'll use the word upset. The person who said, I got it all here. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save what I got. It's called scarcity. I got this. I'm going to keep it safe. Well, whatever it is, if it's $1, if it's wood, if it's metal, wood rots, metal rusts, things lose value. These days, if I hold on to I don't know phones that well, as you guys know about phones and me, but let's say I have an iPhone 13. I'm going to keep this in great shape for a long time, so it keeps its value. Sorry, game's over. In a year, they're going to come out with the 14, next year the 15. The value's going like this. So the wealth's being transferred right from you back to Apple. So anyways, you can live now, is what you're saying. A lot of Christians, you say, I see that too. I used to do that, Greg. That was me. That was the old me. I'm like, my life would be a mess. It was a mess. By the way, now I know I let that happen. I created the mess. But then I'd raise my hands in church and cry, which I did. Oh, Jesus, save me. And he's like, basically, I think I'm going to get to heaven. He's going, I saved you like 30 times. You save you. You know what to do. So that's what I'm here to help people do is live for now. I don't mean that in the hippie 60s way, but I mean, this is all we got, Greg. As we speak right now, this is it. What are we doing with this time? Well, we're talking about wealth and the transfer of wealth. So Proverbs 13:22 says, in summary, a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. Now, what is sin? To me, sin is any diversion that keeps you from living an ideal life. Sin is also in archery. It's missing the mark. So a sinner's wealth. So someone out there who's missing the mark or just unrighteous. And I'm seeing that. I just saw that last week with that company. I had a guy come to me with a bunch of equipment and go, this isn't working well, and so on. And he met me and we talked about the products I have. And he's now on board and he couldn't be happier. And he was like, he said to me, this is almost divine. It's not me. It's not even the product. It's just the transfer that's happening. I can't put this so much into words. That's just one little example, and I'm one little guy. We're starting to see that money's coming out of the stock market and going into whatever. It doesn't matter. It's being transferred out. People are leaving churches. It's being transferred, but to what? Does it really matter? I'm just saying there's a big shift going on. And like what I talked about earlier, 3/4 of the people receiving all this money in houses, they're like, sell the house, or we don't care about that. We watched you die for that. We don't want to die. They want to live now. They want to enjoy their life instead of working for an ogre, having no time. They want to be wealthy and have time. That's what being wealthy is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You brought up some good points about the definition of sin. What came to my mind immediately, sin for me is the separation between God and man. That one thing that I may be doing that isn't best for my spirit, that causes more pain than suffering. But you brought up a good point, Scott. I think the more that we really identify wealth, prosperity, what comes to our mind, like you mentioned, sometimes the first thing is money. But there's people with a lot of money, but inside they have no peace or wealth. So their wealth becomes their God, which is an idol, and that can be a living hell.
I've watched many people on documentaries and spiritual teachers, religious teachers. It all kind of says the same thing. Most people who've done this, I've watched world famous DJs, comedians get up there and say, "I was number one. I was number one. I kept wanting more and doing better." And they find the same thing, that what we're really here to do isn't about the money. That's what we're shown in the world system. And what did Jesus say? I've always had this in my heart: be in the world and not of it. How do you do that? Well, I'm learning how to do it. I don't have it mastered. I'm learning what it means to me, is to be here. To me, it means not to be attached. And that's to almost anything. As I'm doing sales, I'm not attached to the outcome. I'm just present with the person, saying, this is, nice to meet you. And let's, just like now, we're being present. I don't have any goal for this talk. The people that have it all in one area, you can't serve two masters. You can serve two masters, but what is said is you'll hate one and love the other. So you got some choices to make. But I think we're here. I think this is one big playground here, this earth, and we're here to improve, Greg. We're here to be improving. The healthiest people I know, mental and physical, are the ones who are always improving. They're just improving. They've started a business and it's a challenge. So we create challenges to keep improving. And that's a lot of what we're here to do. And if you talk to different religions, they'll say, well, you got to spread the word about God. You have mandates. Okay. But we're also here to enjoy this place too. It's not supposed to be hell, trying to avoid hell so that you'll find heaven. That's not how this works to me. This is a lot of religion is just to avoid hell. And a lot of spirituality is you've been in hell and now you want out and you found a better way, which is, by the way, this isn't saying anything plus or minus about any particular religion, denomination, or anything. It's just that we can get wrapped up in that and spiritually bypass and not even live our life. I've done it. I was almost a pastor, technically. And it wasn't supposed to be, or I diverted, or whatever it is. But but having that contrast shows me how I had some things, but I was missing living. I was kind of like living for a group and a guy, but not doing anything to improve myself as well. It was just kind of serving a machine. And yeah, I'll leave it there. I think I went on the road, got some thoughts, and started carving a trail through the woods. But back to you, Greg.
Well, Scott, you know what's good about it? You'll share your thoughts and ideas and your life experience of how you're rediscovering who you are. And what comes to my mind is, first of all, I have to really look at what a mission statement is. This planet Earth had a mission. God had a original design for Earth. In the Lord's Prayer, it says, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." So what I'm learning about that is I'm here to remember who I really am in Christ. And then when I can remember, when I can identify myself with him, all of a sudden the plans that God has, his original plans for this earth, is in me. So once I understand who I am and my purpose associated with my identity, all of a sudden I begin to live out that map, that roadmap that he placed in us, just like you said. And that roadmap isn't about suffering. It's creating his will on earth, building, taking that kingdom wealth to build his original idea of what this planet should be that represents his kingdom.
Greg, that's a good word, create. Thank you for bringing me back on the road with that. What Greg just said is we're creators. God's a creator. The story in Genesis, I think it's just like he's saying, you can do that. Work 6 days, create, do magical things, right? Do miracles. Miracles are more common than they've ever been. I'm talking to you on a machine and you're 2 states away and we could be being watched worldwide live, maybe on someone's watch. Greg, when we were kids, this was like we were watching black and white TV where they showed a cartoon because that was like 20,000 years in the future.
That's right.
Think about that. We got to really get perspective on how amazing, how much we can create. And it saddens me. There's a transfer also coming from the old slave system of like anyone watching this, when this is over, do a quick search on the 40-hour work week or the 50-hour work week. Look how it started. Man's been on Earth for, it's always debated, I don't know, 6 million years or whatever it is. For the last 100, that's it. That's all we know. We're born into this. Fish don't know they're in water, right? So this is all we know is you work for somebody, you get good grades, be good, behave, do what I say, and then one day you'll get rewarded, maybe, if there's money, and you live through it till you're 65, 60. But the whole time that we're doing that, our creation, someone's got their thumb on our creation going, no, don't do that. That's not what I said. It's when I broke out of that system, I started to look for the new me. And it kind of ends with, I'm looking for something that's already here. God told me, you're trying to sit in a chair you're already sitting in, Scott. It's like he was talking like I talk to a dog, like I'm less than. And I'm like, well, I am. But we're just like God. God made us in his image. I used to think that meant, well, he has arms and legs. The word image it means likeness. In other words, we can create. We can create. We can make things exist that are not yet. We can transfer by being righteous, by being creative. Okay? You'll attract the transfer of good people to you. That's what happened with Greg and I. I mean, for both of us, we're both good people. And we met, it wasn't coincidence, because we're supposed to meet, right? We would, and Greg again was looking at some products that for a business, and luckily we found each other and he heard the truth from me. But before that, there was me doing that. I suffered under someone's wickedness, if you will, with crap products, trying to build my business with the product shutting off, the customers screaming at me. And, but I found righteousness, Greg, in the form of Bill, actually, at Hytera, right? But and it's not to raise Bill, because anyone you put on a pedestal, you're creating a problem there. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is this transfer is going on. I've sat here and wrote all these. I got all these really good notes, and I've got to a few of them. But really, what this is about, Greg, is the transfer is what I said it is in the physical world. It's coming. There's other things that we're seeing, but if we really think about the transfer, there's a lot of things coming to us in the form of opportunities. People are finding out about the righteous are finding the righteous. Mm-hmm. And it's like a magnetic pull that we should not work in the same way we used to work. This is a whole thing I could preach on, but we don't have to do that anymore. There's an ease available now. We're in a new time. And if you didn't notice, COVID changed everything. COVID didn't change anything. That was a symptom of a change that happened way beyond that. And everyone got to sit and think for weeks, what am I doing with my life? Who am I? Am I wicked? Am I righteous? Why am I working so much? Whatever the questions were. And now we're seeing the other side of that. And at the same time, there's a bunch of transfer. We're transferring from the old people we were, kind of slaves in a system, to we still always will be a slave in the system. I mean, as a government in some ways, but that's okay. But we're really finding, wait, I have choices. I have so many choices. If you have a computer and an internet connection, You can start businesses and run, you can all over the world and help people, Greg. So that's the creative part. We can help do the transfer of wealth by putting people on our team. Like, for everyone out there, Greg's on a team. We're in business together in one area. I'm finding there's other dealers for the product I sell. There's two of them this week who have called. One of them has signed up with me, and we're doing all of his technical programming. He couldn't be happier. Greg, he's in Missouri. His exact words were, "I have been depressed for 6 months, Scott. I just can't figure out how to program these darn things." He goes, "This is divine. This is divine." He said that to me. Now he's happens to be a Christian, but he's also righteous. He's very righteous to his customers. He's old school, excellent service, best prices. People love him. I'm very fortunate that he wants to team with me. I'm like, me? But this is what's happening. Stuff's transferring. So all of us out there, a way that Christians would say this, and the Christianese was what I mean, is the kingdom. The kingdom is growing. I'm a little cautious with that word because I think I've seen it used in kind of weird ways, but everyone knows what I'm talking about, I think. And it's a big responsibility to me, Greg. When they come on as a team, I think, okay, well, I'm going to be honest with everybody. I don't have to try hard to think about being honest. Luckily, that's my first choice. And it is for most people. So this is part of the transfer.
Yeah. Well, once again, Scott, I'm listening to you. You just mentioned a word, righteousness. He's righteous. The first thing that came to my mind, and the reason why you got excited, because he reflected a quality that you have, righteousness. But to be righteous, we have to have some type of relationship with the one who created real righteousness. That's holiness. That's God's character trait that's in us all. So when we meet a person that we can see ourselves through that other person, I mean, that's an exchange like a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And in that type of relationships, it's a win-win because you're going to bring heaven on earth. You're going to feel peace. Your creativity goes up. And all of a sudden, you leave that conversation more filled in your spirit before you spoke.
And this happens to us all the time, Greg.
Yes.
When we speak on the phone,
Yes.
From 1 to 10, my day will be at a 7 and how I feel. I hang up, I'm at least an 8 or a 9.
Yes, me too, Scott.
And this is how you know you're dealing, because we all attract what we are.
Yes.
We attract what we are. We don't attract what we want. We attract what we are. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone that's around us is going to be what we are. Keyword attract. The strongest pull, the easiest flow is with, and what stays around longest is we attract and stay with what we are. Not who we are, not the role we're playing. That's a big one. I know a lot of people, we all do. We know people, you see them, and I've done this for a long time. I've become aware of it, and I'm letting it die in me. I'm calling it being real, being true to who I am. But a lot of people play roles. Well, notice this next time. Here's a little side note. If you go into a bank, for example, well, I'm the bank teller. I'm the bank president. Okay. They're playing a role. They have a name tag, usually a suit and a tie. But then we begin playing the role. Well, then when they play the role, we're the customer. And notice how you talk and act. This is something that I'm really kind of letting go of. I'm becoming aware of, and as my wife says, awareness is the beginning of freedom. Becoming aware of it and saying, wait a minute, I don't need to it's great. I'm not disrespecting these people, and they look great, and they're doing their thing. But true righteousness doesn't need a suit, and it doesn't need a badge, and it doesn't need any of that. It's an inside job, and that's what I believe God's calling us to do, is find out who we really are. And as you said, Greg, whose are we? Whose, and that's available for you to see. As I look out to my city here, I can see 3 buildings with a big cross on the top. There's 3 different churches. None of the people talk to each other. They all do their own thing. And they say unity. I don't see that. But I do see God saying, I'm with all of you. It's okay. That's still okay. Play your roles, but I'm just here. And God said, I am. And every time you tried to give him a role or name him, he kind of stood back and went, cool, I am that I am. Talk about a mind blower. He's saying, go ahead. You can't label that. Nothing's going to stick to this. I just am. And so aren't you, Mr. Human, watching this show. And when we can become aware of all the layers that we have put on for the trauma or things like that, as we become aware of that and say, you know what, you're welcome to stay in my body. I can feel that. But you just kind of integrate with it and they dissolve out. That's when you start attracting more of what you are. And I've been seeing that in my life. My wife has. Talking to Greg, let me speak for you, Greg. Greg's been seeing it. We talk frequently. A lot of people at this time are noticing. Aren't you guys out there noticing that if you watch the news, it looks way worse, but it's always darkest before dawn. But also, I have to say, all these things we see on the news, and I don't want to get into that because actually, I'm not up to date on the news. I no longer really watch it, but I know what it'll be because it's been the same thing: war, rumors of war, death, politics. I do know about the government shutdown. It's drama and chaos. That's always going to be. But right to the left and right of that is a beautiful flow. They're distracting us with phones and technology so that we won't find what's in here, which is us and God together, ready to create. And when you do that, you attract more like that, Greg. In full circle here, I'm coming around. I've noticed I have a team. I did set an intention and prayed. I said, I want a team of people that we're all going to do the same thing and be a force of righteousness. I didn't say that actually, but I'm seeing now that that's what it's becoming. And just say, here's the truth. I'm not going to go out and say, no, you don't want to do business with them. They'll figure that out. We're just here. And when they're done with that, when they've been burned, they're going to be attracted. And I am too, attracted to other people I haven't met yet, because we attract, we attract like. That's how it works. That's what's going on. That's another part of this big transfer. We're going to see that in all facets of life, and it's available to us. It's exciting.
I got to share something, Scott. As you're sharing how you perceive the world now, if I go back in time, those roles that I played, like you mentioned, where we go to a bank, the bank teller has a role that they perform, a position that they act out. And even the customer plays a certain role.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm recognizing is my learning really came from those roles that I played. They played a significant part to knowing who I am now, because there was a time in my life, the reason why I got out of those roles, there was a shaking up. There's something I went through that caused pain and suffering for me to really relook at the role I was playing. So it serves a purpose. What I believe may be happening now, you mentioned wars and rumors of wars. That's going to happen. That's part of Revelation. Those things will occur, knowing those seasons. What I believe our role could be now, as we learn to identify our true spiritual nature, we're preparing to help them when they get shaken up, so we can assist them to help them in this transformation process. I think the world is changing because the way that we view the world and the way that the world has been, that is diminishing. That will no longer take place until the return of Jesus Christ.
I think we created the internet to share ourselves, to share. And it used to be, Greg, when you and I were growing up, would sit and be told what's going on by a guy in a suit. It's called the news. There was 3 TV networks in Boston where I grew up: ABC, CBS, and NBC. Had the radio, and that was it. But kind of the biggest fear of that, whatever's behind all that propaganda system, is kind of the internet. So here we are, just 2 dudes with a camera, sharing our truth. The media is still going on, but look at that. People, you see that all the time. People aren't watching it. Oh, well, that's because they're too liberal, or that's because they're too conservative. No, that's because they're lying by omission, and they're plain lying, and they're also amplifying with fear. They're used to sell us with fear, Greg. Coming up, breaking news. And it's like, it's all designed to get you in fight or flight, because when people are in fight or flight, you can walk them into a bank vault backwards with a gun to their head. They'll do that. Mm-hmm. They'll do whatever you want. When you're in fear, you'll do whatever you want. So that stuff's ending. It's ending because it's not being fed. There's a transfer of wealth, third definition, well-being, from that crap of what they call news. I can tell you, I've done news fasts, and my mental health tripled unscientifically. I just felt better. My well-being, I was more wealthy by not knowing what was going on. Ignorance is bliss. There's way too much we don't need to know. Our nervous system is not designed for this.
I have a question for you, Scott. And please excuse me for that interruption. When you disconnected from the news, what was the result of that disconnection? I think that's important for us to understand.
I blogged on this, so I almost want to bring it up and quote a paragraph, to sum it up, the result was I realized that my life did change by not watching the news. People told me, if you don't watch the news, you could miss out. That's a change, right? You're missing out, right? But that's not how my life changed. My life changed because I didn't have all this external negativity and drama and chaos force-fed into my mouth. It's no different than a few weeks ago, I stopped eating sugar, and my body's already changing and my mind is changing. It happens quickly. When you take poison out of the system, it lets your immune system come up and take over and go, finally, we've been waiting. It's like lifting a rock off someone's leg going, oh, can I get up now? That's what goes on. You are what you eat, whether it's in this or this or this. When you eat junk news. So the result was I felt lighter, happier, and I wasn't running around in fear. Also, Greg, a side note, when I walk right outside my office, we're in I call it mini Boston, right? It's Concord, New Hampshire, but it's a state capital right across the State House. You come out, there's a lot of business people, and there's a lot of there's some homeless people, there's all kinds of people. But some of the people I'd look at and I'd be like, oh, I want to walk around, I wonder what they're going to do to me, or they look sketchy. Now, I don't walk in fear, and that wasn't an always thing, but I noticed, Greg, when I cut the news, I stopped doing that. I just looked at them like, whatever, because I wasn't feeding my mind with, they always show you, it's like, father does something to his daughter, or this drunk guy runs down 10 people. People are hurting. People need healing, and they're acting out. They're acting out. But I don't need to see all that all the time. I know that. It restored my faith in humanity by seeing, like I told my wife, I said, if you watch TV, you think we're done for. It's the end days. It's the end days. He's coming back. Well, he is coming back. But when I was born in the 60s, I didn't watch TV. I was too young. But as I look back, it was the end of time then. Cuban Missile Crisis. There's always something they're pumping at us to keep us distracted from creating, to keep us distracted from enjoying our lives. And the way that you can transfer the beautiful peace, joy, and love that God offers into yourself from him by just being with him. And one of the ways that we can do, I'll give you some examples of what I do that works. Everyone's going to do different things. I've made it a point, and this morning I was out in the woods. I took my mountain bike. It's about 1.5 miles, and I ride through. It's a Catholic school. There's beautiful trails and on their land. They let people go through. There's a river, and I sat there for about 10 minutes. I go, oh, that's right. I'm on with Greg today. And I thought, I'm like, I thought about taking a quick video of the stream going by and just saying, this is wealth. You can also have money and watch a stream go by, but that's what over time, guys, over time that replaced me watching. I used to wake up and turn on a TV or a phone or something. Doesn't matter what it is. What's going on now? Now it took some time. It's taken time. It didn't happen overnight, but it's happened where I don't even. It's not even on my radar to do that. It's not. I just wake up and I do other things. But one of the things that I include each day as I'm getting busier in my business and other things is I take care of me first. And that's not selfish, that's self-care and that's wealth. I make sure because I found for me, when I get my exercise in, it's mental and physical health. When I come in here to the office, bring it on. I'm ready for anything. Because when I don't do that, this is a tip I'm passing on. This is part of new you, how you can create a new you. I'm doing it. I used to always think, oh, I'll take my ride later. I gotta call this guy. I gotta call that guy. But after a few minutes of thinking about it, I've got 8 hours to call that guy, or I can call him tomorrow. I'm not an ER doctor. And by the way, ER doctors are behind the veil and they're on a pager. They take their lunch. They have other people help you. My point is, you take care of yourself first and your well-being. When I was running in the church system, as I said, heading towards pastor, I thought at the time it looked good, and for me. But I was also I was watching people drop. One guy had a heart attack, one guy burned out, another guy's, some people were okay, but not many. And that's not to say if you're a pastor, that's a bad thing. It's to say, I'm just picking that as an example. If they didn't put time for themselves. Now, maybe these people, none of that would have happened if they just gave time to themselves first. But you get this role, you get your importance. But God didn't give us that. Our false self puts that on. It's on like a big charade. I'm going to be number one and I'll be your ego and all. I'm through with that. So put yourself first. What is it? A walk? Is it a coffee? Is it a talk with a friend? Try something different. Then start your day, because when you go through your day, for me, this is what I was trying to say. I used to go through my day going, another phone call. I haven't got to go for a walk yet. I haven't got to go this, that, the other. Do it first. And you will kind of raise your vibration. You'll feel better and lighter, and you'll attract what you are, more people who feel like that. You become like the 5 people you hang out with the most. So you hanging out with people who don't put themselves first, you're in the crowd. You don't have to be, though.
Well, I'm going to share a quick example how I started my day, Scott. And I sort of break it down into a simple to me, because I like simple. So what I do first and foremost, if this is what I do, like you mentioned, whatever God places on your spirit, honor that. But I like to sit and reflect in prayer and in study, because I want to go to the one who created me. Sometimes you mentioned riding in the woods. Maybe that's your time with God. That's nature. That's something he created. So that fills your spirit. What fills my spirit is I want to go right to him. Father, thank you for allowing me to wake up, because the times that I don't do that, I recognize I feel a bit anxious.
Yes.
In the way that I process challenges, it feels like I can feel that anxiety. But when I spend time with him in the morning in the Word, I experience a calmness and a peace. And my clarity to make decisions are a lot sharper. So again, I just like to go to the one who created me, because he knows what I'm going to do that day. But to just honor and give him thanks first and foremost for this life that he allows me to live. That's just sharing my gratitude. My morning notes this morning was just really, I usually break down my prayers in like a theme. So my theme this morning, my prayers was just praising him and thanking him, not for the things that I desire, but what I already have. The more that I look at wealth, Scott, the more that I recognize what I already have. If I'm not grateful for that, I can get all the wealth in the future. But if I can't treat the things I have now with gratitude and thanksgiving, that wealth means nothing.
How does that go? Those who I've given will be given more, will be given much. That's gratitude, in other words.
Yes.
And you're right. When I go in the woods, that's another way that I connect with God, because there's no breaking news in the woods. There's no birds that are going to have anxiety attacks and fall off the trees and need pharmaceuticals for it. Nature just is. It's like God, and it's changing all the time. Um, it's. I'm watching. I like simple too, Greg. And as I go through there, you come around a trail and down. There's a little waterfall and a stream, and it's been dry all summer. There's been no water at all. We were in drought. A lot of people were panicking. Did you see on the news we're in drought? And I go, no, I didn't. And all I could hear was God saying, "I'll balance it back out." Look at rain. Rain comes from the sky. It's provided for us. Everything we need is provided. We're the ones who think scarcity. And sure enough, it's been raining every other day, and the water's flowing enough to make the water flow at a good clip. And everything balances out. But we as people in this society we're in, we don't run with that same balance like nature does. Nature teaches me so much. Yes, Greg, I am with God when I'm in the woods. And I'm also, as you exercise, right? I say, as I'm sure this happens to you and anybody. It's been scientifically proven when you're walking. I say even just walking. I mean, walking is beautiful. People walk, run, bike, whatever. But when you do repetitive motion, your brain, it puts it down in a calm state. That's why people think about this. You're about to get in a fight with someone. I don't mean a fist fight. Maybe it's an argument. Maybe it's with your spouse. Come on, we're all married, right? So you're like, you get frustrated. You go, you know what? I'm going to take a walk. Let me take a walk. Maybe that's not the best example, but you go for a walk. And by every time I've done that, I come back and go, what am I doing? There's no big deal. This is just my ego puffing up. Hey, I love you. We're good. But that repetitive motion, that's when God's kind of here, right? And then we get in fight or flight all day with the cortisol blowing out and texts and emails, and you got to update this and beyond that. And it's like, we're bringing that on ourselves. God's like, when you're done, I'm still here. I am the still small voice. And it's like when we exercise and all we're doing is exercising. We're not on our phone. We're where we are. We're not on the phone with someone else who isn't here, being with someone else who isn't here, wherever they are. This kind of happens, and it's like, Greg, I give you a chance. Everyone, go listen to 106.3 FM with your dial set on 104.1. You tell me how it sounds. God's here in a frequency range, and he's saying, not come down to me, but just be around me. That's you, Greg, in the morning when you're doing your prayers. And by the way, I journal too. That's another big one. We could do a whole video on my life has changed, and yours too, Greg, I'm sure, by journaling. But that's where the wealth can transfer in. But people talk about building wealth. There's the world's way. There's all the ways you and I know how to do it. And then there's the spiritual way. And one of the spiritual ways is right here. It's right in the definition, well-being. Well-being, eating well, knocking out, letting old toxic relationships dissolve, those friends that you just don't fit anymore. They're ready to leave your life. You can let them go. What you eat for food, go by how you feel. Don't go on a diet. They don't last. Just know when you eat this, you feel like that. Just let that go, or don't eat it much. And also the intake of news. If you feel like you must watch the news, then you're addicted. I can tell you, because I broke the addiction. It was very addictive. The first thing you asked my results, Greg, the first thing I felt when I stopped watching the news was, I want to see what's going on. Oh, no, I don't. I'm not going to do that. I had to really kind of put the brakes on for about a week, and I go, hey, I feel better. So this is how you get wealth. Because when you feel better, you make better choices, and a lot of choices are with your energy, which is your money. It's that simple.
Scott, there's two aspects. that I'm realizing as you're talking in relationship to life itself. We could either feed our flesh, and when we feed the flesh, the result is death. But we could do things to feed the spirit. For instance, your bike ride. That feeds not only your flesh in a positive way, but also your spirit gets nurtured. But what's interesting today, or it was yesterday, I went to bed and there was this guy that applied for a job. So as he's learning more about the job and the details of that position he was applying for, the boss, the supervisor, uh, was sharing certain bits of information with him. And the guy applying for the job said, well, what do I start off with? What do I make per hour? And the supervisor said, you'll make $15 an hour, but in 6 months, you'll make $25 an hour. So the supervisor asked the guy, well, when can you start? And the guy waited for a minute. He said, I'll start in 6 months.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's got something so simple. Yeah. I laughed. It was so simple, but there was some wisdom behind it.
There is. That's awesome. That's.
I'll start in 6 months.
I'll start in 6 months.
Oh boy, that really made me laugh.
I don't know if I was interviewing him, I would be like, "We're not talking anymore. You're hired." You're so honest. What can I say to that? That's like a friend of mine when COVID came, when the COVID restrictions ended. They said, "All right, no more working from home. You're coming in, everyone in." and so the boss, after about a week, calls him in his office. He goes, "I've been emailing you. I've been calling you at night and texting you, and you're not getting back to me till the morning." He goes, "Yeah, I'm at home. You told me no more working from home." And he said, "Oh, yeah, that's a good. What are you supposed to say? Well, thank you." Yeah. So, thank you, Grace, for that comment.
We have about 5 minutes, so excuse me, Scott. Excuse me. 5 minutes, so I would be honored if you could give us a little summary of what we spoke about, the wealth transfer, what it represents, and what is the Spirit of God placing on your heart now in this moment, Scott?
Thank you, Greg. I would say that the wealth transfer, in summary, what we've talked about is for me, it's about looking into not what was, but what is and is coming. And there's some things, we don't have crystal balls, but as far as wealth goes, what's available to you now, and what's coming. A lot of the old systems, and I talk about this a lot, but we're seeing it in front of us, and a lot of people are upset. But I'm not upset watching the stock market inflate like a balloon that's going to, when it does blow, it's going to literally blow into pieces, and people are going to lose a lot. It's about just staying awake. Look at the signs. Am I saying get out of the stock market? And I guess without a license, I can't give financial advice, and they won't anyways. But I'm seeing that, let that be what it is. I'm looking at, Greg, even like in my business, the old school radio, let them be. I started a new thing. It's a revolution. That's my business, right, Greg? It's what's now and what's coming. You want to be into what's coming. That's where the abundance is. There's a lot of talk about AI. There's a lot of talk about we're seeing the old systems fall apart. So in summary, we talked about sin. We talked about how that's missing the mark or being separate from God. One thing we didn't talk about, but I guess I kind of did, was God talks a lot about inheritance. And when transferred to you, the definition of you've got inheritance. But we talked about what wealth is. It's a plentiful supply of a particular thing. And I said that can be even time, not even time. To me, when you have time, you'll end up having more money because you actually have time to think. Think about that. When you've got no margins and you're at the mercy, or like, you just you're on autopilot. That's not what God wants for us. He didn't create us to be so busy that we can't say yes to opportunities. You want to leave some margins and some time to think and time to pray and time for gratitude. That's something you brought up, Greg. So that's in summary what it is. The best part about this conversation today is what you said, is it's about gratitude, because that's a talk that happens in our house lately. I'm like, are we really grateful? Are we really grateful? And I said to Cynthia, I'm looking out the window here. I'm like, are we grateful that there's no nukes going off here? We don't have troops in the streets here, because that's happening in other places. Even though I don't watch the news, I can guarantee you it still is. We're generally safe, but if you turn off your TV, it's a lot easier to be grateful and look at your family and look at your friends. I'm looking at Greg now. Greg's a friend, and I'm like, I'm so grateful to have him as a friend. It's the simple things.
Ways, yes.
And that's not simple, actually. That's just a thing. So that's kind of the wrap.
Hey, Scott, you continue to have a friendship with me, things will get a little complicated, because sometimes during my transformation, there's times where I get all shaken up, may think and act out a different way, but just be patient, because after a while, I'll smooth out. I say it for this reason.
Yeah.
There's the process. And sometimes we only know peace because we know chaos.
Loved it. Love it, Greg. And Greg, you know what that means, what you just said? That means you're growing. That means you're creating. You're creating a new you. That's one way to say it. You're creating, you're finding you're not finding your purpose, because I don't think we have a purpose. I think we have multiple purposes, because everyone I know does. So anyways, yeah, I'm with you, Greg. It's all good. Yeah.
Could you share your website with us, and also the time of your program, Scott?
So the website for our work is called nuu.live. It's on my name, alpha tag there. nuu.live. It's the website. And there is a blog, a podcast, where Cynthia's doing videos on recovering from mental illness, recovering naturally, ways she's coping with that. I've got some videos out there about different subjects. I've covered some of them here. It's all about creating the new you, letting the dead bury the dead. In other words, there's more to us. There's a whole new world right here at our fingertips. And I don't have all the answers, but it's a platform to share how to move forward in what's available to us for the better. So that's what that's about. It's going to be changing and morphing. But the general theme is there's also some coaching, some professional coaching involved. The main purpose of New You is to say, you don't have to remain stuck. You can heal. There's hope for you. You can do whatever you want to do, and you can do it afraid. And there's stories there to show you of people who are doing that.
Well, very interesting. And I know it's coming from your heart and Cynthia's heart. So once again, Scott, we're very grateful for having you on this morning. And if you could consider maybe one day taking your camera, maybe riding around the city or walking, and we'll put you on live so we could get a taste of New Hampshire. I think that would be a good broadcast, especially near the holidays.
That's where we are. I'd be glad to, Greg. Thank you.
Yep. So I thank you, Scott. And once again, could you share your website?
www.nuu.live, Live.
So we thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Take care.